Ciao, homie.
What's up, YouTube? I wanted to jump back in here to talk about the analysis and the aftermath of my deadlift video that I made. So, by now you've seen that video, and basically the idea was to try to mimic what Eddie Hall did with his 500K deadlift and see how close I could get to that particular feat of strength. And a lot of things went into it, so I wanted to look at my technique, what I did right, what I did wrong, which was most of it, and talk about the aches and pains that came with it. So Eddie Hall has been really vocal about the health issues he had following that major feat of strength. And of course, I'm not lifting anywhere near that, but I can see it. So I hurt my left wrist just loading the weights in the first place. So if we take a look at what I did there, you can see as I'm loading the weights, I'm on a bumpy, grassy surface, which no strongman would ever do in major competition, right? So Eddie Hall's lift is on a flat surface, first of all. Second of all, someone else is loading the weights for him, so he's conserving all his strength for the lift. And that's not at all to take away from him. It's to take away from me and show my, you know, not stupidity, but lack of resources to accomplish this thing the right way. And so I'm lifting up the bar with one hand, trying to load a plate on because it doesn't slide well due to the uneven flooring. And so I hurt my left, I'm righty, but I hurt my left wrist. And if we look again at the actual lift, you'll see that I did the lift anyway. So you'll see that I lift unevenly and the left doesn't really keep up with the right on the first attempt, and maybe that's why, because I was lifting through pain on my left wrist. And so just to kind of give you an idea, that was 4 days ago. I filmed this on a Sunday. Today is Thursday, and it still hurts. So kind of the pitfalls of deadlifting, I guess, if you don't prepare properly to do them, which, as I was pretty clear on the video, I didn't really do lots of warm-up. The working sets you saw were all I did that day to try to conserve my energy. And so that's one thing. Now let's get into the lift itself, and let's take a look first at how Eddie Hall does it so we can see how you're supposed to do the lift and what I did wrong, only because, again, I've never deadlifted before, and I'm trying to keep all the techniques in mind as I'm doing them. And of course, it takes years of experience to master being able to have the muscle memory to do them all at the same time. So let's take a look at how Eddie does his deadlift first. And here's the Giants Live 500K deadlift. And so here's kind of his walk up. So Eddie's using his smelling salts, which I don't have. So we can kind of try to guess as to what kind of assistance or gain in the lift these things would do. I don't know. I've never used smelling salts before, so I can't really comment on that. But yeah, so he's using it, and every strongman does that before a big lift to kind of psych them up and, get them a little bit angry. So here he's doing his walk up to the bar, as I did. And again, weights are all preloaded for him. I was doing my own, and I think I was trying to figure out the physics of this, right? Because if the weights are sitting on the ground, how is it that someone loading the weights can easily slide them on unless it's a smaller plate? And I came to the conclusion that the idea is that there's a little wiggle room. So the hole in the plate is slightly bigger than the diameter of the bar you're sliding it onto. And so when you slide it on, you can kind of wiggle or go at a slight angle so it's slightly off the ground, and it'll slide on correctly till you let go, and now it's sitting on the ground when it's straight and vertical. Whereas when I was on a bumpy, grassy surface, that was impossible, so I had to actually lift the bar to get it on. So that's kind of my right or wrong. That's my conclusion of how it is that these guys are getting all these weights on for a guy like Eddie Hall to lift when the weights are sitting on the ground. So how do they slide on? So that's kind of my conclusion. And as we watch him here, he straps up. I don't have deadlifting straps either. So maybe I'll see if can get some on Amazon and see what kind of difference that makes as well. I would imagine that would help because I've had, as you saw in the video, I had wrist failure on the lift, so that might help. And so he's doing the rolling back and forth, which again, I can't do on grass very well, so I didn't do. And as we watch him do the lift, the major thing I see him doing that I missed on this lift is he sits back. So as he's, and let's rewind that back a bit. So, all right, so here he's going to strap up again, and I'll try to pause this so we can take a still for the video of what he's doing. So as he does his pull, and I think I had my feet pretty much a little wider than shoulder grip where they should have been. I think my hand positioning was right around where it should have been. Both close to the front of my, the bar was right against the front of my shins and my hands were right against the outsides of my calves. So I think the hand positioning was good, and the reason for that is I had all the time in the world to prepare that before the lift. The difficulty and where you really need the experience, in my opinion, is what's happening during the lift, because you have to make decisions quickly. And so that's where I think I kind of screwed it up. So as we watch him here, before the weight's even off the ground, Eddie's in a sitting position. And so in a moment, we'll go take a look at what I did, and you'll see I'm pretty sure I didn't do that. And the reason why Eddie's doing this is because, as he's described in his training, you want to picture the deadlift like it's a leg press. Basically, he describes it as a standing leg press. So he's putting himself in the same position you would be, kind of crouched up in a leg press, so you can drive your legs through the ground to lift the bar. And I didn't do that at all. Like, we'll take a look at the video and see what I did, and I don't know how much you can tell there, but I can tell you from being there and doing the lift, I didn't do that at all. So I tried to lift the whole bar with portions of my back, upper, lower back, my shoulders, my wrists, so arms and back. I didn't seem to have the time or recollection to try to do it as a leg press while I was doing it at all. So I'd like to train this a little bit. So I'm not the type of guy. In my youth, I would lift weights regularly and do workouts regularly. I have a family now, so I don't do that. Like, my workouts are carrying groceries up and down the steps, laundry up and down the steps, and things like that consume a lot of my time and are decent workouts. And so that's why I kind of jump out in the yard and started this channel to move rocks around and get some extra workouts in to round that out. So to lift actual bars and weights, I haven't done in years. And I think that if I try to train this a little bit, I'd like to see where I can get. So from the last video, you saw 275 was my max. I'd love to be in the 300s. Like, I'm not going to ever be at 1,100 pounds like Eddie Hall, but, I'd love to at least get into the 300s and see how that feels like. So I want to really try some of these techniques and see what happens. So let's take another look here. So if we progress there, right? So Eddie is almost at the top of his lift already, and still with his posterior out. Like, he's just now coming out of the seated position when he's almost already at the top of the lift. So again, pretty sure I did not put a focus on that. And then he's doing the straightening out the back at the top, which those last few inches I found to be really difficult and painful. Number one, probably because I wasn't warmed up. And number two, because I wasn't focusing that much on the seated position portion of the lift. So let's flip over and see what I did differently. Now that we've seen how it's done correctly, we could see what I did differently. And so I'll move over to my channel. And so here again, Eddie Hall was angry and all smelling salted up and really hyped up. And as you can see here, I'm slightly hyped up. So there's a difference there, but I did try really hard. I'll promise you that. And as you can see, I'm bent way over. So let's run that back again. And we'll pause it there. So my head position, I would say, first of all, is facing straight down, which Eddie Hall's was not. He was looking more forward. So I'm looking straight down at the ground, and that's already a mistake because it makes it harder, I think, to get the bar close to your shins. And so my face is probably no more than 5 or 6 inches higher than the top of the 45-pound plate. So I think and my posterior is up in the air instead of out backward. So right off the bat, my positioning is totally wrong. The angle of the camera isn't perfectly straight there, so it looks like I'm cockeyed. I would say that was very minimal and not a big part of the issue. And then if we look at the lift, I kind of position my feet. My hands seem to be as wide as they should be, but my left hand looks a little far from my shin, meaning I think the bar is too far away from me. So Eddie Hall talks about the bar being halfway over your foot, so your toes should be past it, and the back half of your foot should be on the other side of the bar. And I don't think by looking at this part of the video that at least the left part of the bar was there. And now, even as we lifted here, even in the right hand, you can see it's not close enough to my leg. And that might have been because the bar was too far away and I couldn't judge whether my hands were close enough or not. So that's part of it too. And as you can see also in this still, I'm totally hunched over, as rounded as a round back can be. And I'm bent over. I'm not squatted like Eddie Hall looked squatted, seated in a chair, and I'm not at all. And if we play it, I'm not at all at any part of the lift. So again, that might have been a big contributor to the pain I felt through my shoulders and my upper back. And so we'll try to work on that for next time. As I said, I wanna try to work on this. So we'll do some sort of consistency with deadlifting at a lighter weight than that and build back up over a series of weeks and try it again and see where we can get from there. So I hope you found this analysis interesting, where we look at someone who deadlifts for a living and is a world record holder and does it the right way versus someone trying it for the first time who has never done it before, even when he understands the techniques. So it looks simple, and it's such a compound, not simple thing to accomplish when you've never done it before. So hopefully you found this comparison side-by-side analysis interesting. If you've seen my last video where I went through this actual lift and have seen the thumbnail that I made for that, it's actually true if you do the math. So let's do the math now. So what Eddie Hall lifted, which is 500 kilograms, is actually equal to lifting a bar with my whole body plus my maximum deadlift that I did that day on each side of the bar. So that amount twice, plus another me sitting on the center of the bar. So 500 kilograms is actually a few kg more than all of that put together. So just to put that into perspective, that's what he's lifting. It just seems impossible and otherworldly until you see it. If someone were to tell me that someone could lift that much weight, I would say it would be impossible until I saw it done. So again, kudos to Eddie Hall for doing something that that nobody else in the world could do, and a good motivation for all of us to keep striving for our goals. And remember, all of you watching, we can't all be Eddie Hall, but small goals matter. Thanks again for joining me on my blog, Strongest Man, and until next time, ciao, homie.